Hello and welcome to That's So Nova. My name is Nova. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back. Today I'm going to bring you this cute little project that I stumbled across on Etsy. It's called the Bookish Tote from Craft Owl Handmade. This could be used with wax canvas, oilcloth, regular quilting cotton. There are instructions on how to interface if you're using something other than wax cotton. And it explores the option of thin leather handles. You can get a lot of sewable handles from a lot of different vendors. I know Noodlehead has some. I believe So Hungry Hippie has some. I know Emmeline Bags. You can go to leather shops and get thinner leather. If you're not into the leather, you can do faux leather. You can do cork. You would just need to double up because this is the thickness of it. So I actually would recommend doing leather and or cotton handles. And that's another recommendation in here too. I thought this would be a really fun project. School's coming back around. I am counting down. Yes, I am counting down. So school starts this month. And I thought what better nice teacher's gift would it be to create a bag that is with like a book, maybe book theme or some kind of theme for it. And the teacher could bring this back and forth to class as a tote. So I wanted to show you the large one. It's kind of large. It's a good size. There is a magnetic pocket we have in the front. I put a nice Battlestar Galactica badge on there. I put my my name brand, my tag on there. Inside, you're looking at water resistant canvas, a nice little hook for your keys, and just a small slip pocket. This bag comes together really brilliantly. The reason why I picked it is because with a combination of using wax canvas, and this is a 13-ounce duck canvas, and water resistant canvas, not waterproof canvas, this bag can kind of stand on its own and has its own shape, and there's no interfacing in it. It's something fun, fast to put together. This can also be a really good birthday gift, baby shower gift. Can you imagine like putting the fabric of "This Is How Much I Love You" and slipping the book in it, and little knickknacks for a child, or a grandparent's gift, a parent's gift, anybody gift. I used leather handles that I purchased at Joann's. These were really easy to sew over. You would just need a little higher needle. I used 116 denim needle for this, and it came together really lovely, and I really like this. So today we're going to be making one, and I'm going to be using two different wax canvases, and you need a pair of scissors. I'm using a magnet. You can use a cam snap for the button. So let me give you some options. For this snap up here, I'm going to give you a couple of different options because I believe in options. I used a magnetic one, and I used some clear washers to make sure that it cannot pull through. You can do a 24 line snap, a fashion snap. You can do a cam plastic snap. You can even one up it and do a regular magnet that you install snap. You can do Velcro if you want. Put a line of Velcro, and it can be even more secure if you do it on both sides, and you can have a Velcro closer. So I think invisible magnets as well. There's a lot of different ways you can go with this. You can even put a hook and have a button on this. This is a lot of, there's some ways. If there's a will, there's a way. And if there's someone that's curious about doing another method, it can happen. So let's start with the first page. It's going to start on page 4. We're going to take the exterior pocket pieces, and our seam allowance is a 1/2 inch. So here's my exterior. I'm going to be making this small. I'm going to put the pattern piece over here. I'm going to put right sides together, and I'm going to sew at the 1/2 inch seam. I'm sewing with a 3.5 stitch length, and again I have a denim needle in. Get my snips. Hold on, my dogs want to bark. Sorry, they get really snippy around this time. I always should think before around lunch, because that's when we start getting deliveries, and you know how they are. They're very protective. So I'm going to line everything up, and we're going to sew at 1/8 of an inch on the top. This wax canvas I made, and it is duck canvas, 10 ounce. And then we're going to sew at 1/2 inch. Really like how that came out, where at the 1/8 of inch and 1/2 inch mark. I think it comes out looking really nice and just like a very clean professional look. So as we follow on page 5, we're going to place the magnetic snap. We're going to find our centers. First, I always like to clip everything in place because I've had false centers. And I'm just going to fold this in half, and we're going to place the magnet 1 1/4 of an inch down. So I'm going to take my ruler, and I'm just using my famous Westcott ruler. It's not a very expensive tool. It's just the 1/8 of an inch marks helps me out tremendously. Let me actually use a chalk pencil so that way I can mark it better. All right, I have my marking on where the center is, and I'm going to punch a hole. Now, if you were doing a regular magnet, you wouldn't punch a hole. You'll just put it through the lining area. But I really am into these magnets right now that are in different colors. I'm into the riveted ones because I just think that they look really cool, as well as I just like the way they function. So I'm going to be looking for the Mel. I always have the most difficult time separating these. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab one of these clear washers. I buy these washers from like Lowe's, Home Depot. You can sometimes get them on Amazon. Just if you look for washers, clear or plastic washers, you'll see. The reason why I get these is so that way nothing can pull through and there is a barrier. Okay. All right. Then I'm going to use, I got this from Cam Snap. This is a die. This is for the Mel portion. I'm going to put it in. It kind of just magnetically snaps there, and I'm going to push down and I set the rivet. So we have this part done. Now we're going to take one of the exteriors of the totes, and we are going to move some of the stuff so it's not as chaotic. We're going to line these up and just kind of make an indentation of where this magnet is, and we're going to make another hole. So what I like to do is I like to roll up on one side, get close as I can to the hole, and then make a punch. It's okay to crinkle your wax. It looks, the more it crinkles, the better it looks, in my opinion. So I'm going to grab the female portion. I'm going to grab a washer. These washers are a little slippery. And I'm going to thread it through. I'm going to take the rivet cap and place it on. I'm now going to take the female die and place it on and replace it. This is a nice handy tool. You can purchase this at Cam Snaps. That's where I got mine. And I believe if you sign up for Cam Snaps, they will give you a discount. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember. I've had this for quite some time. I have no affiliate links. I'm just letting you know what my tools are. And I'm pressing this in. And I'm going to remove. These magnets are strong. And I'm going to put this tool away for right now because we're not going to need it anymore during this video. I'm going to unroll this, place the magnets together, and then I'm going to stitch this down. Just a base stitch. You can do 1/8 of an inch, 1/4. The seam allowance is a 1/2 inch, so whatever you want is whatever's easier for you. That was my scissors. Okay. Or at least one. This is why I always have two. And you can put your logo here if you have one. If you don't, you could place a really cute tag. You know, have some fun with it. We're going to now grab our two exterior gusset pieces. And we're going to sew this together. Right sides together, and with wax canvas there really isn't a right side or a wrong side, and we're gonna do a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and back stitch welt in the beginning or end. And we're gonna trim those threads. We're gonna finger press this open, because remember, if you're using wax canvas, there is no heat except from your hands. And we're going to top stitch down the sides, not only for decorative purposes. I like the way it looks, but it also helps reinforce that area. Awesome. So if you're following along, we're on page 7, and we're on page 6, and we just need to go back to page 6 to add the handles. So we're going to grab our exterior pieces, and you're going to make sure you find the centers. As you see here, I did the center on the bottom and the top, and we're going to make some markings on both sides. We're going to make measurements on either side of 2.5 inches from each center. From the center crease. So I'm just using a chalk pencil, a clover pen or pencil, and I'm just making a little chalk mark. So from the center, 2.5 inches. Okay. And we're going to place the end of each handle, the outer, on the edge marked from the outside. So right outside of the handle, like right here. And we're going to just base these on using 1/8 of an inch, a 1/4 of an inch, whatever you, I'm going to do 1/4 of an inch, and I'm just going to go across and just back stitch. And just make sure your handles are not twisted. So, you know, pull it out, make sure everything's straight, put it back to the outside of that line that you just drew, and see how beautiful this sews up. I got these actually on Amazon, I believe. Amazon has them too. You can just look for sewable leather handles. You can probably get it on Etsy. A lot of shops carry them now. So again, we're going to take the exterior, make sure you have it nice and long, nothing's twisted. You can do this with cotton or even polyester, but if you're doing wax canvas, I think it looks really pretty with cotton webbing. And I'm just going to put this, again, not twisting anything, right on the outside. All right. So we have our two exteriors. We're going to now grab our gusset. Now, when I first did this gusset, it was kind of hilarious because I was like, wait, I have some extra room. That is mentioned. You may have some extra room, and it's fine. We're going to cut off any excess later on. So we're going to do right sides together, and we're going to take the center. I always like to measure the center out first and put my first clip there. From there, you can put little 1/4 of an inch snips to the bottom to help it round. If your wax canvas is particularly stiff and you don't want any, you know, crinkles or creases, just do a couple of snips. Some wax canvas moves better than others. It could just be based on the paraffins, the wax that was used, how many coats, so many different reasons. I'm going to take some clips and kind of pour them out on my table. And we're just going to clip, 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 and do some more. And see, there's some excess, but I'm not going to cut it just yet. I want to make sure that I try to get it as even as possible. And because our seam allowance is a 1/2 inch, cutting into 1/4 of an inch is not going to make that big of a deal. And I just did it around that top part of that more curved part of that gusset. Okay, just take your time. Use as many clips or as few clips as you want. I'm an over clipper. I'm okay with that. All right, see? All right, so I can kind of see where my start point is. I'm going to do it again here. I'm going to start at 1/2 inch. I can see where the layers are coming together and when I have excess. I'm going to sew around this using a 1/2 inch. Okay, so the reason why I didn't cut the excess off first is because I want to do the other side to make sure that it's even as possible. And if there is any excess, then I can cut it off. There will be excess. I actually really truly appreciate that the designer has it where there is more room to wiggle around, because some materials are thicker and less resilient to curves than others, and it just makes your job a little bit easier, less hectic. All right. Okay. We have one. Okay. And they're about even. So I'm going to trim this up. And trim this side too. Perfect. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my pinking shears and I'm going to start pink this seam allowance. I left about a 1/2 inch on top so that way I can line everything up when we're done. But I'm going to pink about 1/4 of an inch. The reason why I chose pinking shears over scissors is because it spreads out the bulk easier and it'll give it a smoother look to me. I like the finish of it when things are pink, and also because it's wax canvas, it does not mean that it's not going to fray. It's just like cotton, it can fray. So anything I can do to help prevent fraying, I will. And then let me trim off these threads. And let's start on this side. You can really have some fun experimenting with badges and patches and all that stuff. These would be really nice for like a club or a book club. Like you make it for everyone that's in the book club and they all can be a part of it. Just a lot of ideas are coming through my head right now. We're just gonna clip this. Keep your leather handles in. And take your time. If you need to clip into the curves, do so. If not, then you don't have to. Like I said, sometimes I feel like I have to, and other times I'm like, oh, I don't. And if I do, it's just 1/4 of an inch. And take your time. Make sure there's no, crinkles or wrinkles. Okay. All right, we're going to sew this at a 1/2 inch again. Backstitch row at the beginning and end. I'm using 40 weight thread. I am on a Juki 5550N with heavy plates. The Juki 5550 comes regular with like regular plates they use in the factory for sewing clothes to make this optimal for me for bag making. When I am bag making, I use heavy feed dogs. When I'm clothes making, I use lighter feed dogs. It's very similar to any Juki domestic machine. And I am maneuvering things, trying to make sure I get wrinkles above my stitch area and not below. And while I'm doing that, I make sure my needle is on the needle down so I don't miss anything. And take your time. This side might be a little bit easier because there's no pockets, but side note, if you wanted to add another pocket like you did to the front, why not? It's a little bit more material, but I'm always for more pockets, I like the shape of this bag. It's the thing that drew me in when I seen it on Etsy. I was like, it's truly unique. I will have the link to the Etsy shop and where you can purchase it. I have no affiliation. I did ask the designer if I can film it, and they told me to. I definitely could. So I just wanted you guys to see like the fun of this bag and all that. So 40 weight polyester thread. I think you could use cotton if you wanted to. I just prefer polyester with my bag making. You can use quilt cotton. There's instructions of what you would need for like Shape Flex 101 and things along those lines, so that way you can get the most out of your bag. Okay. I'm sorry, my bobbin thread got lost. So we have this, and then we're going to turn this right sides out. And it's going to be a little stiff because if you're doing wax canvas, it's stiff. If you need to, you can get a blow dryer and put it on low warm settings, and you can blow dry, like hover, and you can turn it then if it's easier. Oh, in case you're wondering where I got my orange magnet from, I got it from New Moxie. She has really beautiful hardware. So I always try to incorporate some of that beauty into the bags. This is going to turn out super cute. All right, so we're going to put this on the side for right now, and we're going to start focusing on our interior. We are going to grab our little Bookish Tote interior pocket, and we're going to put right sides together, and we're going to leave an opening, and we're going to sew all the way around here at 1/4 of an inch versus a 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to leave like a 4-inch opening, and I'm going to start on one side at 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to back stitch well at the beginning and then follow the curve. You can draw your curve if that's easier for you. Make sure you put your needle down when you pivot. Back stitching well at the beginning and the end because we're going to turn this. I'm going to trim the corners. I like to kind of go at an angle at the opening. I do this with my cotton too. I like to finger press the areas that I want to be closed down. I find that it turns better that way. I'm just going to trim this, and then I'm going to go around with my pinking shears and just lightly pink because this is a small seam allowance. You don't want to accidentally hit your stitches. If you do accidentally hit your stitches, it's not the end of the world. Just go back around it. Go 1/8 of an inch above the area that you accidentally stitch all the way around. Your pocket will be a little bit smaller, but nobody will know. Nobody will know. We're going to turn right sides out. And if you're working with wax canvas, it could be a little finicky, but it's worth it. And if you are working with wax canvas, you can use a tool, something that has a knot that doesn't have a blunt end that can poke through. I'm using some hemostats, and they were the ones I found. I had a bone folder over here, but you know how that goes. Things get lost in Narnia over here. Okay, and we're going to just finger press that nice and close. Oh, that's beautiful. Nice clean pocket. And then you can poke out the corners if you want a little bit more to have like a more defined, but make sure you don't poke through the stitching or it's all for naught. All right, I'm going to put the pinking shears away for right now, and then we're going to go follow along on page 9, and we are going to top stitch this similar to the pocket that we did earlier. We're going to do a 1/8 of an inch, and then a 1/8 of an inch, and then a 1/2 an inch. Back stitch at the beginning and end. Okay, and then we're going to do a this area didn't poke out. There we go. Then we're going to do a 1/2 inch top stitch. I really like the way this looks. I might incorporate this on my day-to-day bags because it just gives it a really nice chic look to me. All right, we're going to take one of our lining panel piece B, and we're going to place it down, and we're going to measure 2 inches down from the center. Sorry, I'm trying to remove the threads. And I'm just going to snip right here for the bottom center. And then we're going to go 2 inches down. And we're going to fold this in half to make sure it lines up. Now, wax canvas can't be pinned or the holes will be seen. You can use magnets like sew tights to hold it in place. If you want, you can roll up the sides and clip it like this. And then when you get over here, it's all in place and it's not moving. And you can start sewing on one side. I like to sew at a diagonal at first. I go back and forth. Then I put my needle down. And then I stitch upwards. And then I'm just going to stitch 1/8 of an inch all the way around. And then I'm going to remove that one clip that I had to hold it in place. And then I'm going to stop here, and then I'm going to go at an angle. So see, I went from standing right, just straight on, to bringing it towards an angle. Straight on, then at an angle, a slight angle, and stitch back and forth. Then I'm going to go and stitch up and down, and I just do 1 stitch off just to like really try to hold it together. Just trim off those threads. We're going to then grab your interior hang tab. It's a square. So what we're going to do is fold it in half, find our centers. From there, we're going to fold that half onto each other. So you have it in 4. It's now 2, and now it will become 1. We're going to sew 1/8 of an inch along the long edges. We're going to take, just have that little connector. I promise you I would lose my shadow if it was not attached to me. I'm going to be grabbing the lining panel, and I'm going to be grabbing a swivel hook. I'm going to take the swivel hook and I'm going to thread the tab that we just sewn. We're going to follow instructions that are on page 10. We're going to measure 2.5 inches away, and I'm just going to make a mark. And we are going to place the tab. I leave a little excess hanging over, about 1/2 inch, right on the line. We're going to be right outside that line. We're just going to baste that on real quick, just using a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And I'm going to back stitch because I'm not going to trim the seam allowance, so it's just another line of stitching that's going to help keep the bag together. Then I'm going to grab our lining panel, and we're going to use, this is the lining panel A. We're going to sew to B using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Back stitch well at the beginning and the end. If you have to use a hump jumper or something to level out that bulk, do so. I sometimes use like a sewing needle pack if it's handy. I'm going to finger press and make sure this is nice and taut, and then we're going to keep all the seam going towards the upper part of the bag, and we're going to top stitch this at 1/8 of an inch. Perfect. So with this, we're going to do the same thing with our gusset that we did before. We're going to put the two pieces of gussets together and sew at 1/2 of an inch, and then we're going to attach the linings. So I already did this for the other side that had nothing. We're going to attach here. Now, when we're attaching the gussets on this side, they advise you to have an opening because we need to be able to close it. They had it at the edge of the bag, the lower part of the bag, have a 5 to 6 inch opening. I did it on the sides of the bag because at first, when you look inside the bag, the first thing you do see is the bottom, and I didn't want to have them seeing you know, stitches. Unless you hand stitch it, you're going to see the thread. So I'm going to do it on the side. So what I'm going to do is first clip my center, and then I'm going to go around and I'm going to clip this all together and get this all squared away. I had to trim my lining gusset too, just like I did on the exterior. So once I clip it all together, what I'd like to do is then I'll figure out where I need to have the opening. I don't want to have the opening anywhere near where I start the curve because I don't want the curve to be compromised. So what I usually do is right underneath the line that we did the top stitching, I'm going to have an opening for 5 inches from here to here. So that will make my job a little bit easier when we're putting these right sides together. So I'm going to sew these at 1/2 inch. I'm going to go back stitch. Back stitching is super important, and we're going to go all the way around until I'm going to stop right where the opening is going to begin and back stitch well. Take your time. I know it's silly, but I always back stitch over any seam. I don't know why. If I made a seam and it's a man-made seam, then I'm going to back stitch over it. So I'm getting close to where I want to have the start of my opening in, but I'm going to finish sewing up here. So I'm going to have my opening, a 5-inch opening on the side. I'm going to start back stitching, and then I'm just going to pick up my threads and start sewing where I'm going to have it end. Okay, and I'll show you right now. I'm going to take it out and I back stitch too. So on the side, I have my opening. So it'll be easy to access. So I'm going to, again, cut towards the seam, not touching in the stitches. And I'm just going to kind of finger press this open so that way when we birth this bag, it's ready to go. So now I'm just going to grab my pinking shears and pink around to help relieve excess bulk. Just like we did. Do not pink into your seam allowance, like onto your stitches, just like half your seam allowance, so that way you can just alleviate some of the bulk. Nice. Okay. Now, I like to have my pocket towards my body, so I'm going to place the exterior meeting the lining where the lining has nothing. There's no pocket. This part could be a little tricky, but just take your time and you should get it. place your handles inside. Make sure they're not, nothing's all twisted. And we're gonna do some matching. The reason why I left a little bit of like little fold, so that way we can fold it easily without worrying about bulk. And I'm going to clip each area, each 4 corners first, to make sure that everything is even as possible. And I'm going to do that here too, on this side. And then if you marked your tops and bottoms centers, then you can match those up too. See, the centers, match them up. And just clip, if your clip decides to work. Perfect. All right, so now we're going to sew around this using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Take your time. I know you're at the home run and you're just like, hey, I want to rush. This is when you take your time. And the leather should, if you have the nice, easy sewable leather, it should just sew right through, which I like. I love the leather handles. It gives it a really nice finish. If not, I also love cotton. I'm a big fan of cotton webbing. It's really strong. It comes in so many different beautiful patterns. If you have to stop, make sure your needle's down, or it's gonna have what I just had happen, where the thread just was like, nope, we're not having it. Let's see. Okay, let me backstitch and start. Long tails. Let's go. And you could backstitch if you want over each of the handles if you wish, but I don't think they'll go anywhere. Okay. What I did here for my other bag is to make the bulk a little bit easier. Over where I had all the little folds, I just kind of trimmed down the bulk on the little corner marks, just to help with when I'm doing the final top stitching. Anything that could help reduce bulk, you know? You don't want to trim anything over where the handles are, because right now it's acting as an anchor. Okay. Let me get all these little ears, and we're going to birth it. So the reason why I also like on the side is I can just push the bag through. And take your time. You don't want to like pop a stitch. If you do, it's not the end of the world, but try not to. Again, if you have a blow dryer handy, then you can just hit it on warm, not too hot. You don't want to melt the wax. You're just trying to make it where the fabric's a little bit more pliable for you. take your time. And then you're just gonna make sure everything is nice and sewn together. And then what I do is, while I'm right here, I'm gonna put, see, because we already creased it, it already wants to fold on each other. I'm going to put a couple clips, and I'm going to top stitch that opening close using a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And back stitch. Okay, we close that up, trim those tails, and then we're just going to place this in there. And just take your time. And I just go around and I slightly just, you know, give it a gentle tug so that way I can get everything lined up nicely. And then we're going to top stitch. Oh man, isn't this bag coming out absolutely beautiful? I can't wait to see everybody's. Please tag me at That's So Nova if you make this, because I would love to see it. All right. This is really nice. Okay, so absolutely beautiful. We're going to now top stitch this using a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now you could turn this inside out and so that you're top stitching on from the right side, or you can stitch from the lining side if you wish. I'm going to just kind of have it top side like this and just stitch. So that way I'm stitching from the side that I want to look at the most, but at the same time I'm not having to turn it, rebirth it, unbirth it, you know. So back stitch to lock in a stitch, and then take your time. Again, if you have to stop with the needle down. It will make your life a whole lot easier. Take your time. Breathe. And you see the needle's down and I'm like repositioning the bag and all that stuff. It just helps. It's okay for it to get squishy, especially if it's waxed canvas. You know, you get all that juicy crinkles, and that's the beauty of waxed canvas. It just looks so lush because of all the creases. Okay, we're almost done. I will link where I got this leather from Amazon. It sews up really nice. This is my first time using it, but I do know if you can buy it locally or if you can go to a leather tanning store, you could have like, oh my gosh, you guys. I think I won bobbin chicken. What? Oh, what? Yay! So we're going to trim those tails, and there you have it. You have a absolutely gorgeous book tote, and mine says Lord of the Rings, so it would be nice to put like Lord of the Ring book or any of Token's books in here and give it to as a gift. We did a magnetic snap. You have a nice, beautiful, I need to trim these two. you have a nice beautiful inside. I did wax canvas on the inside. You don't have to do that. We have a key hook, we have a slip pocket, we have leather handles, and we're ready to go. I think this is a cute bag. I think it'll be a nice lunch bag. I think it'll be a nice gift bag. Get well, nice to meet you. Hi neighbor. Oh, I'm going to the market bag. You name it, I think it'll be great for it. So that is it, my friends. I will put a link to where I got the handles, the leather for the handles. I will put a link to the video where you see my husband do wax canvas, so in case you want to wax it yourself. I will also put a link, of course, to the pattern. But that's it. We are all finished. There is 2 sizes to this pattern, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this fun little sew along, and I will talk to you guys all later. Have a fabulous day. Bye.